So what I'll do now is I'll hand over to Penny and Ruth. But before I do that, I want to say a massive thank you to Penny and Ruth for agreeing to do this webinar. They've been very kind to do webinars and presentations for us before, but it is a great honour to have you both here, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your presentations. Rather than go through a large amount of bio, I just thought I'd let you just introduce yourselves, if that's okay. And what we'll do, so the idea is Penny and Ruth will talk for about half an hour, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions. So please put your questions in the questions tab, and then I'll sort of host the question session. Okay, so I'm going to hand over now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, it's a pleasure to be here, and welcome to this webinar, our 40/40 vision. Looking back, what can we learn that's going to help us with the next 40 years? I'm not going to do extensive reading out a bio, but you'll gather who Penny is if you don't know her already. Both Penny and I are on the board of something called Talking Infrastructure, which we will also mention. But what I want to say, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to look very briefly at the start of asset management, which happens to be 40 years this April, which is fantastic, isn't it? And then looking back over those 40 years, what can we see in how asset management has developed? We're going to use something called the waves. Then we are going to take that and then think, what's the next wave? What's coming next? Wave 3. And that is a very important stage, a very important thing for asset managers to really grasp hold of in the near future. But there is something else that's happening in the world that we need to start thinking about now. So this webinar will end with, well, it'll end with a Q&A, but we've got some key takeaways from our experience, but then a call to action now, that is starting in 2024, because before it's too late. So that's what we're going to look at. Just to say, we're on the board of Talking Infrastructure, which is a non-profit, which is really looking at issues about how to make decisions about infrastructure for our communities, for future friendly assets. And Talking Infrastructure is going to party like it's 2024 all year with a whole range of activities, articles, blogs, etc. Always with the learning from the last 40 years to think where we want to go in the next 40 years. We're not going to say too much about the history of asset management here because we really want to talk about where does this take us next. But Penny, Talking Infrastructure recently published Penny's book on the first decade of asset management, the story of asset management, with the subtitle Infrastructure, We Can Afford to Build It, Can We Afford to Keep It? So Penny, tell us, how did we get here?